Hello friends, this is John Klein III with episode 49 of Shadow and Flame of Magic, the podcast, and we're going to review X-Terminators, the 1988 Volume 1, Issue 1, and let's get to it. And this is Volume 1 because within the last couple years, Leah Williams made an incredible Exterminators second volume that has nothing to do with this volume, and so we're not reviewing those. Matt, we could. No, issue 4 falls under the preview of the show, but right now we're reading Exterminators Volume 1, Issue 1. From the pages of X Factor, Exterminators, now begins Inferno, introducing the menace of Narashter. With a silent H, I think is how I'm pronouncing it. And then on the cover is the Exterminators versus him, but does not happen in the comic. But Exterminators from the cover is Artie and Leech. WizKid making his first appearance, so this comic should be worth, I don't know, $1 billion. Skids, Boom Boom, who I always prefer her Meltdown code name, but I understand it's comics, so the first code name you get is the one that sticks. I say that, but dear to the heart, Kate Pride, her first one was Sprite, so I mean that didn't stick around, thankfully. Neither did Ariel. So that's on the cover. We're going to review more focus on the beginning pages as the rest of it. I think we can breeze on through. And once again, thanks again to Comic Book Herald for his reading order. So that's the one I'm going through. And it's Inferno. So I don't know, of all the tie-ins I read, Exterminators is the one that left me the coldest. First reading it, I'm pretty sure I read it out of order. I'm pretty sure I barely knew who the kids were. Oh, I'm sorry. Rusty's on the cover as well. Let's not forget Rusty. So I was just like, I don't know what any of this is. Who are these people? I don't care. Like, once we got past page 4, I was like, alright, this is just what we're doing. But I think it made a little more sense this time reading around it. So, well, let's just begin. So, Exterminators number 1. Inside covers, ad for Ultra games, including the first Ninja Turtle game. Let's see here, the fine prints on the side. October 1988. I gotta say, though, this comic was hard on Dad's eyes on trying to read. I don't know. I need to see something about my eyes, I think. And this is called Invasion of the Baby Snatchers. And this here is in Ashrif. Or is it Nastrif? Oh, that sounds a bit right. Who dares to summon the dread Nalaster and his Nalasters from the Stygian depths of limbo? What is this babble of swords and interdimensional journeys? And this is writer Louise Simonson, penciler John Bognev, inkers Al Williamson and Al Milgram, letterer Joe Rosen, colorist John Willington, editor Bob Harris, editor-in-chief Tom DeFago. And so he's confronting Sim, and we're in Limbo. And now I gotta think of a voice to give Sim so we can tell these two apart. The sword holds Limbo stable, Nalastrif. It's the Dark Child's token of dominance, aka Ileana of the New Mutants, Bob. And just like that, I bought this comic. And I want to say she's referenced in all these, like pretty much whenever they talk about Ileana, is the reason why we bought the thing. And they mention her a lot more, so it's not like I'm going to take a snapshot of the individual panels. More than a token, synth. It is the key that locks Nimble to her, that keeps it safe from you, who would steal it for yourself. More than Limbo, Horseface. Oh yeah, and Nazarsif pretty much has a horse face, but he's all green and has like a dragon mane and angel wings. And then Sim's a big purple guy with a big tail and wrestling shorts that match his skin. And we hate Sim because of his mistreatment of Ileana when she was way too young to be mistreated in the ways that he most likely mistreated her. More than Limbo, Horseface, Sim will rule this dimension and the one beyond. And just like backhands Nistarsif. Which I imagine the H is silent. Nazareth? Yes, Nazareth. That must be it. Have a care, Sim. Those who risk what petty power they possess in a play for more chance losing all. And then they're just pretty much doing a wrestling hold where no one's the stronger. But then Sim does throw him on the ground. So I guess Sim is, like, you know, his superior. Sim has gathered power already, Nasser. Each time the Dark Child takes her sword, Sim's power grows. Threaten Sim or his plans, and you lose more what life you have. My magics protect me from your transmode virus. Sim's power is greater still. We talk journeys. You and your servants will take a trip to Earth. You will find your instill 13 power-filled babies and bring them to the chosen place. For the performance of Sim's dread right and the attainment of Sim's dread purpose. And like Limbo and Inferno is one of those crossovers where I mostly remember the results of it all more than the individual pieces. Or even the side stories, like when Spider-Man, like I think all 3 Spider-Man titles got Inferno involved in Inferno having to fight inanimate objects, now demon possessed. And so the X-Men parts, I mean, I just read them like years after I read all the other tie-ins. Because I started my comic book readership as a Spider fan. And then try to manage both franchises, and then finally, like, One More Day happened, and I was like, well, that's where my Spider collection ends then, because I just was not for it, not for those reasons. And so, you know, and then I was buying comics, like, in mass. Like, one page, I was working at the university where I met my wife, and pretty much, like, and I think I was living at home, so I pretty much was just making money, pretty much, and so, which was nice. And so I pretty much went to Mile High Comics, and once a month just bought like $100 worth of back issues, and sometimes that was like 50 back issues, and sometimes, and because I was using, because every Mile High Comics used to be great about sending you a code to like get sales. And so sometimes, like, you know, the sale would be very steeply discounted. Sometimes it would be like, here's an X-Men sale. And then, you know, I played that game. And then other times the comic would be like 3 issues. Like, you know, like I'll get Uncanny X-Men 141 and maybe 2 other comics. And I remember getting X-Men Classic and having that real moment of like, is this good enough? And then I bought issue like 140 and then 143 of Uncanny. It was like, well, no, now I'm missing 2 issues, and these are crucial issues, so let's commit to this. And so that's pretty much how I afforded most of my comics, besides like a few times growing up because what I was about to say was like at Comic Cons, but that was during my Spider-Man days, and so my father bought a decent amount of those, and I'm pretty sure I sold those to my comic shop. But we still got quite a few. I'm looking at my Spider-Man. I'm pretty much just looking at all these white comic book boxes in this closet here. So Oh yeah, so they mentioned the 13 babies that are going to be crucial to Inferno, crucial to Maddie, and once again, this is an Inferno through the Ileana's eyes because. But I did buy like 2 issues because when I went through Comic Herald, I owned all but 2. So I went to Amazon, and I gotta say, until this last time, like the comics came in immediately and was pretty great. And then this one, the last one I bought took like 9 days to come, and I was like, what happened? But it did come in finally in time, and it was no worries. But like most things of anxiety, it usually never comes to it. Fruition, but got lost in my own head there. Okay, so the 13 babies also play a major factor in getting Ileana back to being the magic we all love and missed. And now I'm trying to find my spot. Oh yeah, Dread Purpose. Sword vanished. Darkchild took it and left the door unhatched. Another reality beckons, and by Sim's power you will travel there. The vanguard of Sim's army. And then some regular demons like, oh, but Mothra, you're gonna let him get away with sending us there? You didn't even try and fight him. You could have won, maybe we could have stayed. I feel you fight, Mada. Go! Shut up, cronies. I have my reasons, my own aspirations concerning this invasion of Earth. And that is... well, I guess I could count them. 1, a splash page, and 2 proper pages. And that's all Ileana's going to get mentioned. So they show up in the Monasteum. This guy shows up. There's a very clear tombstone or headstone saying R.I.P. Frederick Retham, which I can only imagine, which I don't know if that's a letterer joke or an artist joke, but he's the guy who infamously wrote Seduction of the Innocents. And when I looked this up coming out in 88, he died in 87, but maybe they, comics take a while to create, so maybe it lines up better that way. But and I read that book, and it is pretty much full of nonsense. But reading one of his his only Wikipedia page, like he apparently was pretty influential in the Brown versus Board of Education. So I don't know, just a nice asterisk, I guess. And so Nasir's Goblin Squad show up, and they morph the Crypt Keeper Bill into turning him to a goblin so he could be their Earth guide. And so they're all just looking for babies now with great power. And then we cut to Portsmouth Naval Prison, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And Artie and Leech are there, and Rusty is is voluntarily surrendering himself to the Navy because he see X Factor 1, Bob again. Oh yeah, so Rusty's saying, look, when my flame power first manifested itself, I was in the Navy. I hurt some people and freaked out and ran away. And so now he's making do because the Mutant Registration Act is now a thing, and so he's voluntarily surrendering himself so that other mutants won't have to be prosecuted as much. Skids is not happy about that, but she's understanding his choice. Some Navy guards are going to take him, but Skids isn't quite ready to go, so he flames on, and then they scatter so that they don't burn him, and then Skids is giving him a tearful goodbye. And she appreciates that with his patience, she's learned how to minimize her force field power. And then Artie's coming up to say goodbye. Artie speaks in word bubbles, but with the bubbles instead of words are picture bubbles. But if Leech gets too close, then Artie can't communicate. And he has an image of him and Leech, a broken heart, And then a horseshoe and a shamrock, which I interpret to mean that friendship, his friends love him but have a broken heart, and they wish him luck. And then Rusty hugs them, and he's taken away. And several days later, and not too far away, Jean Grey shows up to the school of St. Simon's and gives Artie and Leech to Dr. Gloria Johnson, the headmaster, and Lynn Huntington, her assistant. And Jean's just saying they're in good hands. And so they're going to teach them how to read and write and do math. And so they're going to initially separate them, but Artie's heart's broken. She shows them just the two best friends, and then once a picture of them crying with a big no sign over them. So they make a new rule that these two will be together. In the background, we see a kid in a wheelchair saying, yuck. And that, of course, is WizKid, who is in a very fancy, high-end wheelchair that he designed himself. And he's just sad and always pushing people away from himself. Less than a mile away is Phillips Academy, Exeter, New Hampshire, undisputed king of American prep schools, except in the opinion of Andor, of course, which I imagine is an in-joke. Iceman is bringing Boom Boom, Skids, and Richter. Oh, yeah, is Richter on the cover? Oh, yeah, he's behind. Yeah, when I said Boom Boom and then got distracted with my name preference, I forgot to. Pretty much I left the boys off of that cover description. So Bobby's explaining to them about how, and he has his as Guardian belt on to maintain his power control, which in Mutant X is in a what if Bobby didn't have that belt and his powers were like insanely powerful there, or out of control, I should say. And so they talk about how Angel went to school here, and then so he got them a scholarship so they can attend. And none of the human skin flat scans want them to attend. They're making fun of them while all standing underneath Iceman's not his ramp. What do you call that? His. Let's see here. They name it. Oh yeah, ice ramp. I said it right. And so Boom Boom is about to shatter it, but Richter rather have the honor. So he creates a mini earthquake, and the ice ramp shatters and like buries them under. Which then Bobby's like, well, hopefully you can still come here. While at nearby St. Simon's, and so the kids are Leech is drawing, Artie's trying to read, WizKid's trying to and his name is Taheshi, and but while he's showing off his whole, he gets too close to Leech and it makes his whole wheelchair disassemble. And then Artie points at it and shows Leech equals a light bulb with a wet towel above it. And WizKid is losing his mind. While at Exeter, one of the preppy girls are showing Boo Boom and Skids around. I guess Skids because she has a force field that lets her like slide across places. It's not a name I've ever really been fully on board, and does not age well whatsoever. And so the girl, really teenager, shows her the new uniforms. Boom Boom's constantly wanting to throw a time bomb down her shirt, but resists. Skids talks her down, and then Boom Boom throws one of her time bombs into the closet, destroying all the school uniforms. So now they gotta just wear what they came in to dinner. 7 days later, which is the second 7 days, so that's weird or interesting. The dorm for resident students at St. Simon's Academy. And so clearly in the last 7 days, WizKid has made friends of Artie and Leech, but clearly he's been a real jerk to Leech this whole time, and he never lets Leech near him too much. but then makes Artie, play his assistant. And then finally, Leech just walks away, and Artie goes blat. And then WizKid starts having an odd situation, and they never call him WizKid in this comic, but he's having a hard time telling if his powers are better with Leech nearby, or when he's farther away, or is it a perfect old school antenna with how far, getting them just right. And so Leech tries to get a little closer, and then he falls out of the wheelchair again. And so he's like, go away, no, come back. And so they're just like, I don't know. But so they eventually do help him get in the wheelchair. And then the machine he's working on does light up. So he's like, oh, maybe you can stay with me after all. That night, scratch, 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 scratch. And we see Leech is sleeping with a Garfield stuffed plushie, which is cute. Leech, I guess they get a little scared. Leech has a big Z over his head because he's sleeping, and Artie shows a picture of a sawing wood. So clearly Leech is snoring, which is cute, and they're in the same bed now. WizKid starts hearing noises, scrabble, scrabble, crackle, titter. And he looks outside and he sees a bunch of goblins. He's like, go away! And then he thinks to himself, they're just supposedly these goblins who stole some babies from a hospital in New York. See Power Pack 21, Bob. And I will tell you now, when Power Pack shows up on this list, it'd be issue 42. So I'm sure they'll recap 41 or 21 for us. So he's going down the stairs, which they do have one of those conveyor belts for the wheelchair, so that's nice. The goblins are putting Artie in a bag, and they're about to put Leech in a bag. And then they grab WizKid, and they put their hand over his face, and they notice he has great power. But he's not bald. But he's not bald because they were told to get babies, so that's why they're grabbing Artie and Leech, because they're bald and powerful, and so but then in his panic he creates a gun, Tacky does, and it shoots one of the goblins and they flee, and then he realizes, like, wait, they said I'm a mutant, so this must be my power. And he turns his wheelchair into a goblin buster and gives himself a cool helmet and starts blasting. And then he he plans on ramming into the goblins, but he gets too close to Leech and turns into it, so he just headbutts them, essentially. And then they backhand him, and he falls. Some teachers come in, like, Taki, Tahashi. And he explains that goblins took him. But one of the male instructors notices EFFIGS? EFFIGIES. This is crazy, but if you know your myths, leaving effigies in... Oh, yeah, effigies. I guess I never had to pronounce the word before. In place of stolen children, it's classic goblin behavior. I'll call the police. And so they put him Tacky back into his bed. He realizes he needs to get the kids from upstate because he's read about them. He calls the same girl who harassed them before, and she's just like, this is no time for prank calls. Get out of here. So then he turns his wheelchair. And this is something I'm constantly wishing I could do in my car. But he turns his wheelchair into a helicopter. And then we find out that he can turn masks into other masks. But, like, he has a helicopter, but no way to power it. So then he grabs a trash can and turns it into an engine. And now he can fly. And so instead of taking forever, it's going to be like 1 hour. So then he starts announcing, like, hey, skids of X Factor. And then they open a window, like, we're out of here. Because they don't even care. They want gone. And then they go by the boys' dormitory. And one of the ladies is like, I'm going to call the police. And then Richter's like, oh, I better go too. And he grabs the ladder. And Tacky's like, I can't hold 4 people on this ladder, or 3 people. And so the police, so like Richter is pretty much scraping the ground with the ladder, and 2 cops show up. Boom Boom throws a time bomb. It explodes, giving them enough to like launch off the ground and also get the police far enough away. Tacky makes a quick funnel so that Boom Boom can put a time bomb down, and that gives them rocket fuel, and so they just start flying. And then they realize they're near the Navy prison, and so they crash into that. They grab Rusty. There's a pretty awesome panel of the Navy guys showing up. I don't know, sort of dressed in Army fatigues. But maybe that's what the Navy does. Maybe they don't all dress as sailors. I don't know. My mom was in the Army, so I recognize Army garb when I see it. But it's a pretty cool panel on 31 where, I don't know, like the rest of the comic looks pretty cartoony, but then these guys are like legit like military guys. Rusty takes a moment to quickly burn all their guns. By now, Tacky has made a giant red tank, and now since they're done, he makes a spaceship essentially and starts flying off. Next issue, the X Factor kids get new costumes and a new name as New York goes crazy, as Nasir gains a technological advantage in Speed Demon. Inferno is just around the corner. And X-Terminators 2 will be the next issue we read. And so this was our second bonus episode of the week. I was not planning on that, but people seem to respond kindly to that instead of my fear of like, this is way too much of you. Like, oh, come on, you guys. And gals, and all the people in between. Come on. And out of between. So thank you so much for listening. You can follow the blog at shadowandflamewithmagic.com. You can follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at SNFWM. You can follow me on Twitter and YouTube at Jackal SIII. And hopefully the next episode is finally doing Secret Invasion comics, but the world might be telling me something. But I pulled them, so I don't want to put them back in boxes, so I'm going to do them eventually. So, I will talk to you next time. All right, everyone. Bye.